very good morning to Alicia Barry. Alicia, what's happening with the NBN?
Well, the ACCC says, that's the competition watchdog, says that some NBN customers are entitled to a refund, and they're urging customers to follow up with their retail service providers, the people who roll out the NBN for them, to see if they are eligible. Now, this comes after providers Telstra, Optus, TPG, iiNet, Internode, Dodo, iPrimus and Commander all recently in the last 15 months or so admitted to making false or misleading representations about the connection speeds they could provide to their NBN customers. These providers sold plans of a maximum 100 megabits per second speeds, which they couldn't deliver. And since November 2017, the Competition and Consumer Commission has accepted undertakings from the providers that they would contact more than 140,000 customers who are affected to remedy them, and that could include a refund. So customers urged to follow up on that. Losses on the Australian share market have slowed since the open, and it's not looking as bad as it was when we did start trade. The All Ordinaries Index now down just over 0.1%, so is the ASX 200 Index. If we look at the individual movers, Challenger Financial has seen its stock plunge almost 14% now after issuing a profit warning. It's expecting its half-year profit to plummet 97% thanks to the increased market volatility we have seen recently. The company is tipping it will make just $6 million for the 6 months to the end of December, compared with the $195 million it made the same time a year ago. Elsewhere, the gold miner Northern Star is performing quite negatively, as is Emeco Holdings. The best performers at the moment are Regis Resources, Afterpay's having a relatively strong session, and Ansell is leading the charge. Turning across the region, where trade is underway in New Zealand, Japan's Nikkei is unwinding for its trading session. It's looking like it's going to be a negative one. The NZ50 is down around 0.1% or so. On Wall Street, we saw some fairly steep falls recorded as traders took their first chance after a holiday to react to concerns about global growth after the International Monetary Fund cut its forecast and China released some slowing growth figures. Also overnight, a few US companies reported some disappointing earnings outlooks, so the Dow Jones lost 1.2% by the close, the S&P was off 1.5% and the Nasdaq dropped nearly 2%. Checking commodities now, and spot gold prices are edging very slightly lower. We did see Brent crude, the global benchmark, come down in the UK overnight, but that hasn't flowed through to West Texas Intermediate yet. It's still pointing higher, Tapis a little lower, and the Australian dollar currently sitting at 71.2 US cents. It has picked up a little, but it has been falling against the greenback over the last 24 hours or so. The chairman of Chinese tech giant Huawei is warning that the company may shift away from Western countries if it continues to face restrictions. Mr. Liang Hua had been speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos. He says Huawei might transfer its technology to countries wherever it operates. Huawei makes smartphones, but it's also a world leader in telecoms infrastructure, in particular 5G networks. And the company has been under scrutiny by Western governments, including the Australian government, for fear its products could be used for spying. And that is all for now, Joe, unless you have a question.
I do. That Challenger result seems pretty disturbing. Is that a bit of a canary in the mine shaft in terms of the challenges that financial institutions are going to face over the next 6 months?
It is looking pretty much like that. I mean, it was a surprising figure. The market, as we know, has been extremely volatile. Really, since October last year, we saw those big swings downwards, and we have been heading downwards. So it certainly could be. We'd have to look and see what the other companies in the space are doing. There's a couple of fund managers also listed on the ASX.
Yep.
Challenger Financial may be a little different to them in terms of its composition, but Magellan Financial, obviously Platinum Asset Management, that has already announced some negative outlooks in its previous results. So yeah, look, it's very likely that the companies that are invested in the market in terms of returns are seeing pretty negative outlooks, but that is a big fall, $195 to $6 million. No wonder investors are selling out of that company today.
Okay, thanks, Alicia. The World Anti